setting fire to the stoner stereotype, sparking up candid conversations with cannabis researchers, entrepreneurs, and advocates. Educator, author, and advocate Dr. Mitch Earleywine is here to tackle the burning issues. CannabisRadio.com presents a no-holds-barred platform that seeks to redefine and revolutionize the entire scope of the cannabis culture while opening the door for more to join the cannabis crusade. Please welcome the host of Burning Issues, Dr. Mitch Earleywine.
Hey, I'm Dr. Mitch Earleywine. Thanks for joining us on Burning Issues. As most of you know, I'm professor of psychology at the University of Albany. I'm the author of Understanding Marijuana. I'm the chair of the executive board at the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws, and I pen the Ask Dr. Mitch column for the High Times magazine. Today we're going to chat with Jeff Ferro from the United-Food-and-Commercial-Workers Union, and we're also going to have our usual segment, Self-Compassion and the Art of Activism. Jeff Ferro is part of the organizing department at the United Food and Commercial Workers International Union. Thanks so much for joining us on Burning Issues.
Thank you, Dr. Mitch.
Well, so Jeff, I think the most burning issue really is how could workers in the cannabis industry benefit from a union?
Well, I think all workers can benefit from a union, and I don't see cannabis workers any different than other workers. So, workers are coming together for much the same issues in the cannabis industry. We see this evolvement of the industry to going from underground industry to a commercial industry, and by doing such, you see the operators in the industry forming coalitions and associations. You see the advocacy groups for patients or consumers coming together, and it's a natural progression for workers to say, "Hey, where's my voice? Where do I fit into this process?"
So I feel like I got to make this a little more concrete. So imagine I'm a bud tender, and I know you guys are going to need a little bit out of my check every week or every month. What's in it for me?
Well, you've got to look at this industry just like any others. And why do other workers, participate in a union? It's collective action. And, industry standards of organized versus unorganized workers clearly shows that there's a financial benefit to workers that are in the industry. Their benefits are generally better than other workers in similar comparable industries. And then if you look at the life product, the work-life product, workers in a unionized industry have a much more pleasant work life where they have some say in the different working conditions that they have and the safety that they have for their families. They can come home and feel secure about the job that they do and be proud of it.
So better pay, better benefits, and a better working day?
Absolutely.
I mean, that sounds ideal to me. I'm curious, are there comparable unions in the U.S. already? Can I say, look, what you know from, say, food workers is going to apply to me as some guy in the cannabis industry?
No, there's not. If you look at the UFCW and our 1.3 million members that we have across the country, every one of our core industries kind of fall into the different aspects of the seed to sale process of cannabis. We have a agricultural division, which is very used to dealing within highly regulated conditions in the country. We have a manufacturing industry for both topicals and consumables. And then, of course, we have retail, which is, most people see us as that. But every one of those industries that we currently have mirror the same kind of issues that cannabis workers would be working in. And so, our experience in working in a highly regulated industry is beneficial to workers. Our experience in dealing with the legislative and political process is very beneficial to workers. And to be honest, it's the one area where we actually spill over, and for an industry that's trying to, become legitimized within the country. And we know that there's a lot of people, the momentum is going in the right direction, but that kind of, partnership with workers and the employers in this, we can really fix some of the issues that are standing out there for this industry.
Well, and then I'm eager to know if I'm owning a cannabis shop or I'm in charge of one of these businesses, is it better for me to actually have union workers there?
I absolutely think so. I mean, if you also look at the statistics, a unionized workforce is a happier workforce. Generally, a happier workforce stays around. You don't have the churn. You have somebody who's really bought into the business because they feel like they're part of that business. That translates, if you're in the retail component, translate directly to the consumer, which makes the consumer have a pleasant experience, which makes there a brand loyalty. So, of course an employer would benefit from having a union in their workplace.
So it sounds like having a union shop, I'll get happy employees, I'll get less turnover, I'll have a sort of brand loyalty with the folks who are my consumers. Does that seem a fair summary?
Yeah, and you throw in also the communities in which they work. I mean, there's a lot of benefits that come to that, whether it be a local decision maker that's, giving approvals to a business. When you have all those things, happy consumers, happy workers, a safe workplace for employees, city councilmen, county commissioners, state legislators, and ultimately, hopefully, the federal government will be much happier about this industry.
Well, and so then the big concern always seems to be that somehow this is going to turn into higher prices for consumers in the long run. Does that seem like a common argument?
I hear that, but there's no evidence to that. We represent a lot of employees in other industries that it's not 100% union, and yet the workers there, get superior wages and benefits and working conditions and are much happier in the way they do work, yet the prices that go to the consumers are comparable. So, that isn't necessarily true. And if you look at, some of the leading statistics from economists on what's going on with our race to the bottom, you see where employers who are cutting wages and benefits and hours for workers are not necessarily netting additional, resources for the company, extra capital. What it's actually doing is driving customers to other places. So again, I think they can pay good wages, benefits, and they will recoup that from customers.
So have you heard any tales of sort of abuse in this industry in particular or in comparable industries?
Well, yes. I mean, there's in any industry, there's some abuses. In this industry, because it has not been on the surface, there are all kinds of, potential issues out there because they're not used to dealing in a regulated, industry. They have practices, and one comes to mind. We had an issue where some workers from Maine reached out to us, where there was an employer who was kind of like the big dog in town. They had multiple locations called Wellness Connection of Maine, and they gotten themselves in the situation where they had a problem with some of their plants, and they asked these workers who weren't trained properly to apply a chemical onto the plant to save the plant. And when the workers raised questions about it, the employer insisted that they do it. And the workers were concerned for themselves as well as their patients because this was a medical scenario, and they didn't know how that chemical would impact, some of their patients that had serious immune deficiencies and things like that. And what ultimately ended up happening, the workers applied it, they got sick, the consumers got sick, and so we helped them address that concern. The employer retaliated against them, and ultimately we got them their work and kept we're still fighting for them and their rights to collectively take action to improve their work and their customers' experience.
But it really does sound like the consumers benefit as well as the workers. It's not just going to support one crew.
Absolutely. I mean, in all of our industries, when they have direct customer contact, our members totally understand that the reason they have a job and hours are the consumer, and they're committed to making sure that their experience, again, because they have ownership into their company, because they have a voice, they want to make sure that experience is good, and they look after them.
And then the other big thing that comes up just from people who sort of know unions from the movies is that it's going to be a strike every minute or every 3 months or something like that.
Well, workers don't typically take that extreme of an action. There are a lot of other ways to remedy, disputes. And so low percentages of our membership ever result in a strike. And ultimately that is the worker's decision. And you could imagine how bad the request must be if the employer, makes an employee take that kind of a dramatic decision. We would try to resolve that through other means without having a strike. But at the end of the day, that's the worker's decision, not ours. We're going to help them through it.
I think that's super important to emphasize because it sounds like you guys are really there as kind of the facilitators and the motivators. You don't actually make decisions about what each worker wants.
Right. We're a very democratic organization. Our members drive the type of contract proposals we make, and we use our expertise in knowing how to do that to help, accomplish their goals. And, again, this isn't always an adversarial situation. I mean, employers aren't bad. Some of their managers may be bad, but jobs are good. Everybody needs jobs. Our goal is to sit there and try to make everybody, be reasonable and work towards the common goal, which ultimately in this situation would be the consumer, correct?
Absolutely. Can you give me sort of a sense for if folks are at a dispensary, say, working, how would you guys come in and help them organize? What would that look like?
Well, oftentimes we receive outreach from workers, and I think the more we're out there, I mean, you can Google cannabis workers, and generally, the top 3-4 of them will be something related to the UFCW. We obviously are searched a lot. And so we get a lot of outreach from workers. It could be really small issues, but it can be significant issues like the Wellness Connection of Maine. But what generally happens is we get together with workers. We try to figure out how to address the concerns that they have. In this industry, we have had a lot of success by actually going to the owners. The nice thing is a lot of these are mom and pop, that have been doing something like this for some time and are trying to, take this opportunity to be an entrepreneur. And the experience that we can bring both in the regulatory and the political arena, gives us some ability to address workers' concern with a less hostile environment. But I have to tell you, the industry's changing. We go to a lot of these industry shows. We set up booths at industry shows so we can meet with workers and employers. And the face of the industry is changing. My biggest fear is that as, the private equity money starts pouring in and it becomes more acceptable, the Wall Street effect is going to come. And all these great jobs that could be created out there are going to be lost just like the Walmart jobs of today, right? It'll be,
I gotcha.
Race to the bottom. And so for workers stepping out now gives them that type of protection to make sure, and employers, if, some of them are going to want to get out of this industry. They're going to make a lot of money and they're going to say, hey, I've done enough work. I want to relax. I'm going to sell my business. Well, the problem is that those employees are currently their family and they're going to sell to somebody who's going to be looking at it as a way to make money. And that gets detached, but by the protection of a collective bargaining agreement, these workers have that kind of security that even when the employer changes, they can have the same kind of voice on the job. And,
Thanks so much. Yeah, I get the idea. Hey, we're going to take a break here just for a second. Thanks for tuning into Burning Issues. We're talking with Jeff Ferro from the organizing department at the United Food and Commercial Workers Union, and we'll be right back.
More Burning Issues coming up after we blaze through these words from our sponsors.
Your connection to quality cannabis insurance services is spelled Kaercher. That's Karcher Insurance. We have worked with ventures like cannabis for over 60 years. We're proud to represent over 50 companies with tailor-made cannabis plans for owners just like you to ensure your product, your plants, and your pursuits. Kaercher spells out their full-service insurance services ranging from commercial to bonds, to personal, from life to health, and more. Contact the team at KarcherInsurance.com and let our experience work for you. That's Kaercher Insurance.com.
Contact Karen and the team at Karcher Insurance at 1-844-421-3560.
Great websites today need expert web design and development and need to be e-commerce ready and mobile friendly. But building a marketable and profitable website can be an uphill climb. Ready to make your new website or replace your existing website? Think Orange as the new way to get in the black. Orange Hill Development works with Fortune 500 companies and offer the same top quality development service at a fraction of what other providers charge. Brands like Absolute, Carlsberg, and Nestea trust Orange Hill Development. Find out why you should trust your website with Orange Hill. Contact Orange Hill for a consultation today at orangehilldevelopment.com.
Ignite the conversation on some trending topics along the Cannabis Radio social media network. Join our crew of thousands on our Cannabis Radio page on Facebook or at Canna Radio, CANNA Radio on Twitter. Plus, look for our Facebook and Google Plus pages for all of our original programs and connect with Dr. Dina, Kyle Cushman, Dr. Mitch Earleywine, Nurse Heather, Doc Rob, the hosts of Ganjapreneur, and more. Connect with the growing Cannabis Radio social crusade at Canna Radio on Twitter or search for Cannabis Radio on Facebook, Google Plus, and Instagram and grow it.